everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, we're going to be talking about one of the newer offshoots of the grander Mormon movement. And sort of what that means in the...
Oh, I hate that phrase, Mormon movement.
the LDS movement.
It is a thing. I don't know. It's so stupid. We're going to be talking about offshoots of offshoots and all sorts and it's not just a Mormon phenomenon, but the fact that it happens the way it happens with Mormonism, I feel, is like interesting.
In broad daylight.
In broad daylight. They don't even have the decency to do it under the cover of night.
Indeed. But yeah, so that's coming up later. In the meantime,
we'll get
Dan.
to that. Yeah, what do you got?
Well, something that's needed to happen for a while.
Okay.
There's been hand-wringing about, which doesn't make an ounce of sense, if you ask me.
Okay.
The Washington National Cathedral.
Ooh.
Oh, so grand.
It's very official.
So official. And it's a beautiful building.
Very big,
It is
very
a grand cathedral.
has
built in the
housed
tradition of European cathedrals.
and has housed many an important leader in these United States.
Absolutely. They have decided to remove windows. They're stained glass windows.
Oh.
That honor the Confederate generals Lee and Jackson. It's taken them this long. Now, if you'll recall,
Lord.
after the shooting in Charleston back in 2015,
Yes. Wait.
where the nine the Bible study group at the Black Church,
Right. Yeah.
where 9 people
That was that
died,
kid.
I think.
That white kid that went in there
and it
shot
raised
up
all
a black
these
church,
issues about racism and racism in churches and blah blah blah. Right?
Roof, was that the kid? Dylan
I don't
Roof?
remember the name of the kid, but that sounds familiar. Anywho, after that, they decided they were going to have sort of these a period of education and reflection on the issues of race and racism in America. We actually talked about this on the show.
We did. I remember.
And I cannot fully remember what our perspective was at the time.
It's that racism is bad. That was our idea. Was that we didn't
Right.
like racism.
I don't think at the time, though, we said, why the fuck is there a stained glass window, period? Or did we?
Oh, I think we did.
Yeah.
I think we were like, yeah, because we talked about the fact that these windows exist in this thing, and we were just like, what the fuck? And there was hand wringing about these windows, and we were like, no, don't wring your hands, just fucking take them down.
Get rid of them.
It's the easiest question to answer in the universe.
Well, they listened.
Oh,
Dan.
good. We have an effect, ladies and gentlemen. Our little show, clearly, we were the only ones to take this bold stance.
Right. Well, anyway, the church has come out and said that they their mission is to serve as a house of prayer for all people, and blah blah blah.
Except for those two generals.
Except for those two they're not welcome.
They are
Dan.
unwelcome there.
The windows will, and get this, okay? The windows will be deconsecrated, removed, conserved, and stored until we can determine a more appropriate future for them. They should have a hammer throwing contest, is what they should be doing.
Yeah, except, okay, here's where I fall on that. I've decided that I do think that all of the Confederate monuments that have been put up, I think they should be taken down, but I feel like there should be a museum that can put them into context and that houses them, because it is a part of our history. It's an ugly part of our history, and I don't think we should be proud of it, but I think we should acknowledge it and understand it and try to understand it. So
perhaps
I say put it in the Museum of Racial Hatred.
I think you could put a nice big picture of it. Well, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Or mangle, like it's a museum that has all of these mangled monuments.
Yeah.
And then pictures of them when they were pretty, but like that'd be interesting.
This is what we do to racist
generals
bullshit who
right.
fought for continued slavery in the South.
Yeah, you have a beautiful display of broken windows. I'm actually down for that. I'm actually okay with that.
A big pile of just glass.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
this was once
maybe glued down so that you can tilt it up so that we don't have to look down at it. We can see it. Like it's spread out or whatever, but a pretty mosaic.
It can be lit in a very lovely way.
Oh yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But
it's broken.
I really think so.
Because fuck them.
And fuck this period of time in our history when we lost sight of what was happening.
Right.
And
you're not talking about the Confederate period. You're talking about the period when most of these fucking things went up. In the 1800s. Right.
This one went up in 1953.
Right.
Put up by the United Daughters of the Confederacy.
Right.
Right. That's who pretty much sponsored the whole thing in an effort to whitewash, no pun intended, their history.
I think the pun was intended.
I thought about it before I said it, and I decided to go through with it.
There you go.
But
in the 50s, this is not like that wasn't put up to commemorate current generals.
No. Or recently fallen generals.
Right. No.
This was, this is an effort to reclaim their racist history.
I'm really glad
in order to celebrate and try to renew racism in America.
Right. Exactly. So I'm really glad that these monuments are actually starting to come down. It almost shocks me, to be perfectly honest, that so many of these monuments are actually coming down. I'm actually surprised. I think it's amazing. It's cool.
It's about fucking time.
Yeah.
Like I honestly don't know what we as a country were thinking.
Well, we weren't.
That's where we weren't.
That's when you stopped thinking.
We'd lost our perspective on this issue.
Yep.
And anyway,
I'm going to take us to another country across the pond to the UK. The UK, where there's been a new survey published talking about it was a survey of British and Canadian peoples, and it's talking. So, there was some interesting results. It's a survey about belief in evolution and belief in creation stories, or specifically the Christian creation story.
Right.
And it's interesting. It talked to both people of faith and people who aren't of faith.
Uh-huh.
And here's what we came up with.
Okay.
19% of religious people in Britain. Actually, yeah, I'll start with that. 19% of religious people in Britain found it somewhat difficult, or very difficult to accept evolutionary science.
Okay.
That number is 29% in Canada.
Oh.
However, most people do accept evolutionary theory. 71% of the UK respondents and 60% of Canadian respondents accept evolutionary theory regarding the origin of the species. So that's good. Mm-hmm. And also what it means is that that they don't believe in the creation story. So only 9% of Britons accept the biblical creation story.
Well done.
Now, well more than 9% are Christians.
Right.
Way more.
Yes.
So that's shocking.
They've done something right.
I'm a Christian, but yeah, that's bullshit. I mean, obviously, God didn't create mankind in 6 days or whatever.
Well, I mean, it is clearly a bullshit story.
It's so stupid. It's a stupid story.
I mean, like, okay, as hard as it is to wrap your head around somebody being like, I think that guy, really did die for my sins.
Yeah.
Right. That's a different prospect entirely. That takes a different suspension of disbelief.
Right.
That's mystical and magical and weird and what have you. But the creation story is just stupid.
Yeah.
Just
yeah. all the stuff about making a woman out of a rib and making everybody know. Like, yeah, he separated the light from the dark.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Right.
This is the heavens and the earth. What does that mean?
He created shadows.
Yeah. Saw a very cute video online of a girl terrified of her shadow, suddenly discovering this shadow and running away from it. It was very cute.
Yeah, that's not what this was.
No. 1 in 5. Now this is where it gets disappointing. 1 in 5 UK atheists and more than 1 in 3 Canadian atheists were not satisfied with evolutionary theory.
For what?
Specifically, they agreed that, quote, evolutionary processes cannot explain the existence of human consciousness. Yes, it can, everybody. Listen, you guys are supposed to be better than this. So let me just categorically state, I don't know that it did. I don't have proof that evolution is what created my consciousness, is what created our ability to be conscious, or whatever spiritual thing you want to believe in. But it can be through evolution. Get with the program, you guys. What is it, aliens? Come on. I'm very angry about that.
Apparently.
I'm very frustrated.
Yeah.
Come on, atheists.
Wow. Okay.
We're supposed to be the ones who are ahead of the curve on this one. Anyway.
Well, are you finished with that, Dan?
I suppose so.
Yeah. All right. Dan, you like to play with dolls, right?
Oh, it's my favorite. I did have a doll as a little boy.
What kind of doll?
A little baby doll.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I liked it.
And you babied the doll?
I don't know what I did. I'm guessing I just dragged it around by its leg.
Right.
I don't know.
Hit its head with a hammer.
I didn't do that. It was a soft head. It was squishy.
Anyway.
Yes, anyway.
Nonetheless, apparently, the dolls on the market, especially like the Barbie-style dolls, the little dress them up in cute little outfits.
Sure.
And have a little playhouse-type dolls.
Yeah.
Were not very satisfactory to one Muslim mother in France. She has created a new, very similar to Barbie doll named Jenna.
Oh.
That, of course, wears a hijab.
Yeah, Burqa Barbie.
Burqa Barbie. Yes, indeed. And she recites verses from the Quran.
Oh, great.
So it's also a talking Barbie, which is a feature that Barbie has, I think, always kind of lacked.
She needs to talk to. Actually, I remember that there have been talking Barbies.
Have there?
Because I remember controversy when a Barbie was released and it would say things, and like one of the things that it would say, and this pissed off some feminists. See if you can spot why. One of the things that she said was, "Math is hard."
Oh my God! Whoa! Wow!
Yeah!
Wow! Sitting around in the room that came up with that one.
All male room.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, have you looked at Barbie?
Yeah. I mean, it was created by a woman.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Anyway, well, this doll recites verses from the Quran, and you're able to dress her up. She also doesn't have very much makeup on.
Okay.
A lot less makeup. But
she's not one of those whores.
Yeah. Apparently,
can you take the hijab off? Can you take the clothes off?
You can take the hijab off. The clothes are glued on.
Okay,
I don't know about the clothes.
Oh, you don't know.
I didn't see. I watched a video on the whole thing, and they never showed a naked Barbie.
They really should have. They should have just as they're interviewing the woman who created it, just start taking the clothes off and be like, "Now, what do you think of this?" And hold it in front of her.
I mean, it is circumcised, so
oh God,
there is.
Oh God. Oh,
there is that. But
hurt my feelings.
But the clothes are glued on top of it.
Yeah, so you don't know.
So
she doesn't talk about it.
Well, I'm actually surprised she talks at all.
She does talk. She just tells you Quran verses. Oh my God! I want to know what the Quran verses are. Like, what do you choose?
Apparently, they're short
for Quran Barbie,
and they picked ones that were easy for a child to memorize. Because you're supposed to memorize the whole Quran.
Oh, okay.
This is a thing in Islam.
Oh, right? I've only got like half of it memorized.
So it's important to get the child started early.
Yeah.
And the family has since moved off to the United Arab Emirates.
Oh, sure.
In order to market the doll throughout the Gulf.
Yeah.
It's currently on sale in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, and of course the UAE. And yeah,
there you go.
The little girl. I mean, I saw the video of her playing with it. She just loves it.
She's delighted.
She's so.
I mean,
delighted.
representation is important. So I can imagine that this is actually a boon to Muslim girls.
Actually, in a lot of ways, it has a darker skin tone. And the mom in this whole thing, the creator of the doll, was saying that she was really trying to create something that her daughter could look at that also looked like her mother.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And, I mean, that is important.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
It instills value in one's own,
right.
identity.
If the only dolls that you have don't look like you, and you'll start to think like, well, this other group is more important than we are.
Right.
Which is what has been the sort of message that's gone out to marginalized groups since forever.
Yeah.
So that's good. That part of it is fine.
The hijab part.
The hijab part.
And the Quran part, maybe not.
What the fuck ever.
So much.
I'm going to take us to... So, 5 years ago, a film was released.
Oh?
Called Last Ounce of Courage.
I didn't hear about this.
It was a Christian film.
Oh.
On Rotten Tomatoes, apparently it had a score of 0%.
Is that possible?
Yeah. You just got to be really, really, really bad. And you've got to be so, unnoticed that the Christians themselves don't flood it with, 10-star reviews so that it just to bump up its ratings.
Right. Okay.
But they were trying to get noticed, and one of the ways that they tried to get noticed, they're innovators. They wanted to get out there.
Yeah.
So what they did was they had Mike Huckabee, former governor of wherever he was.
Arkansas.
Arkansas, right.
Presidential candidate.
And
Fox News commentator.
Yeah. Famed Mike Huckabee.
Yeah.
Famed Christian Mike Huckabee.
Very famous Christian.
Did a robocall for them. Recorded a robocall for them.
Oh.
The text of which was something... Here's some of it. Do you believe in America, freedom, and liberty? Would you, like me, Mike Huckabee, like to see Hollywood respect and promote traditional American values? So that's the tone of this thing.
Okay. Yeah.
They sent it out to 3.2 million people.
Oh,
They called 3.2 million people with this
that cost?
robocall. Well, robocalling, it costs some, but it's not that expensive. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Unless you realize that robocalling for commercial purposes is against the law if you don't have the permission of the person to make the call.
Oh.
The Telephone Consumer Protection Act prohibits such a thing.
But it's okay for political calls.
Because they're not selling anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's my sense of it.
Okay.
I am not a lawyer. However...
Glad you clarified that.
The maximum fine for this is $500 per call.
Go.
And they made 3.2 million of them.
How much did the movie gross?
0. I don't know. It probably grossed $1,500. I don't know.
My guess is they're not going to get this money.
Here's the thing. So so a judge has just ruled that yes, he will have to pay. The judge was very kind and knocked it down from $500 per call to $10 per call. So
holy mackerel.
He still owes $32.4 million. That is nuts.
That's a big boo-boo.
Yep. It's not Huckabee himself that's being sued, of course.
No, of course not. He was just a hired voice.
It's a guy named Gabriel Joseph, who's the head of the company that made the robocalls.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So apparently they'll bankrupt themselves in their cleverness. These guys.
Well, thank God there's that rule, because we'd be getting robocalls on fucking everything.
All the time.
It'd be the worst thing ever.
We'd have to turn off our phones.
I mean, at this rate, they have to pay somebody, in some faraway land,
right,
to call us.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you
it's
go.
just a little prohibitive at this point.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Awesome. Yes.
So-
Ding these guys.
So yeah, I
Oh,
guess
too bad.
they're gonna go out of business. Oh, too bad.
Well, Dan, you've heard about these floods caused by hurricanes and
What?
or the Hurricane Harvey in Texas.
They caused flooding?
Flooding,
Oh my goodness.
you know.
Yeah. Half of Houston, all of Houston was basically underwater.
Yeah, something
It turned into an aquarium.
20 trillion tons of water or something like that. Like some
Sharks
just
swimming down the street.
There was a Sharknado
Yeah.
that went this.
That literally
through.
happened there. That's
It
real.
really did. Well, nonetheless, you know, there's FEMA, of course, the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Yeah.
Swoops in these situations and has, I guess, basically, well, they have money that you can apply for. I guess it's kind of grants in order to rebuild, right?
Right.
And to get important services back up and running. They have the funds. They're ready to go.
Right.
Well, there's 3 churches in Houston or in the Houston area that are suing to get some of this money so they can rebuild.
They have to sue. They don't just get it.
They don't just get it. Actually, the Bush administration, Bush 2, decided after after Katrina,
Right.
that churches were not eligible for reconstruction monies, which actually shocked me.
Yeah,
That
that's
came out
pretty
of the Bush
shocking.
administration.
Yeah, that Bush administration, like,
Right.
he's an evangelical. That's pretty shocking.
Well, we can put this into perspective a little bit, right? There are a lot of categories of groups that do not receive funding. And I think once you see what the other categories are, it's like, well, of course churches don't.
Right.
Right. I think any reasonable person on either side of the aisle should be able to see why churches don't. Because the assistance program focuses on organizations providing public services specifically. So it excludes facilities established or primarily used for political, athletic, religious, recreational, vocational, academic training, conferences, etc.
Okay.
So they're really looking at like really, truly vital services.
Right.
Not
They want to get
just your belief
they
in
want to
God
get
being-
society working again
Exactly.
and functioning.
Right.
And then like the sort of because nobody needs church. They say they do,
Right.
but you don't. But survival is not like church has never been needed to survive.
Right. If you had maybe a soup kitchen that you were running to feed the poor or the homeless,
Sure.
and that was a project that was sort of operated by your church, you could probably get money for that,
Right.
actually.
Yeah.
The article made it sound like there are exceptions for this.
Sure.
But they're suing because they think that this last decision from the Supreme Court that Gorsuch was involved in, that, what was the decision? I have it right here. It was a Supreme Court decision with the Trinity Lutheran playground thing. We talked about it on the show, right? Which,
yeah.
They said that the church could not be kept from applying for the public grant solely because it's a church.
Right.
And they're trying to
That's right.
weasel
This was a
in-
playground for kids and the schools were getting these grants and
Yeah.
the church wanted it. Okay.
Right. And so they're trying to weasel their way in
Sure.
on this money, reconstruction money for vital services.
Right. Oh,
Because
they'll probably get
this.
it. They'll probably get it.
Yeah, they probably will, actually.
just
I mean, it's really disgusting.
How this country works. Good thing they've been paying into the system this
Right.
whole time.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. And that is something to point out. But it's also a lot of these organizations that do get the money don't pay taxes.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the salient point.
I don't think it is.
Here.
That was just a
Right.
joke.
No,
I don't think it's the salient point.
Right. But their lawyer, Daniel Blomberg, said churches have been told by FEMA, we will use you, right, because they use them as shelters, but we will not help you.
Yeah, we're
so I'm
busy
like-
helping people as opposed to institutions right now.
Right. And so also, wait, this is quid pro quo?
Right, exactly.
You, as people of faith, are providing your facilities just because you think you're going to get something out of it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah,
what the fuck, people?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I sympathize. Their shit was probably ruined. and that sucks.
Of course
But
it
that's
does.
what insurance is for.
Right.
Your
And-
insurance is meant to cover that.
And as
Not-
soon as your community is back on their feet, they will be able to they'll be able to pay their dues.
Right.
They'll be able to give you tithing or put money in the plate.
Right.
Reconstruction fund.
Sure.
Right. You can do that.
Yeah,
Let your community
you don't need-
rebuild you after they've been rebuilt.
You don't need FEMA.
Right.
You need Aflac.
And that.
Or whatever. All right. Moving on. Singapore. It's one of the best months of the year in Singapore.
Yeah.
Apparently, in a sort of confluence of traditions of Buddhism and Taoism and Chinese mysticism, in Singapore, it is now the time of the year when the living and the dead, the thing that separates the living and the dead,
The veil.
the veil is opened a little bit.
Ah.
It's spooky times.
Really?
When
Ooh,
all
it
of
just gave me shivers.
when all of
Little
the
tingling, man.
ancestors can come back, and people leave gifts for them. They leave food for them.
course.
They leave things. So it
Why
is
wouldn't you?
basically called Hungry Ghost Month, and the 15th day of Hungry Ghost Month.
The Ides of Hungry Ghost Month.
Beware.
Beware the Ides of Hungry.
Right. Is the Hungry Ghost Festival,
Okay.
in which people like burn offerings all over the place. Apparently, it's paper. Paper's the big deal. You make you guess what your ancestors might need in the next life. They might need a good car, so you build a big paper car, and you light that shit on fire, and then they've got a car.
This reminds. I'm positive I saw something on this when I was a kid, like some National Geographic something or other.
Yeah.
Right. Because I remember this really well, actually. Like constructing, like.
You build
things out of paper.
You get some
and then
clothes.
lighting them on fire.
And then
Is that what you said?
I think so. I think
They
you
light them on fire, and
yeah.
then that lifts it up into the spirit.
Yeah.
Kingdom or
Sure,
whatnot.
why not? The roots of the festival apparently go back more than 2,000 years
Awesome.
to one of the disciples of the Buddha, Mulian or, oh God, Modgalayana.
Mr. M.
Mr. M, who was a disciple who had a vision that his mother was suffering
Okay.
in hell, apparently.
Oh.
Didn't know Buddhists believed in hell. Apparently they do.
Okay.
And so on the Buddha's advice, he designated a ceremony to redeem her soul by giving offerings and chanting sutras.
What do you want to have burned for you, Dan? After you're dead.
You know, it's so hard. You have to predict what the afterlife's going to look like. You know what I mean?
That is the hard part.
I'm just, you know what? Build me some 72 virgins and burn them. Let's see what happens. I don't know.
Really, you want 72 virgins?
No, I don't.
Come on. Gross.
No, like 5 is more than enough.
Make a big paper pot of spaghetti.
Ooh,
And burn it for me.
That's for you?
Yeah, that one. That's.
Ooh,
that's me.
I want wings. I want it like an airplane.
Oh, I thought you meant like buffalo wings at first. I was like, oh, I didn't.
No. I mean, I like those wings, but no. I want.
You want a plane?
I want to fly around.
Well, you can already fly.
You don't know that.
You'll be an angel. Dan.
Then why did the other one need a car?
Come on.
That's what I want to know.
Come on, Dan.
I want a plane.
Well, because he had places to go.
I want a helicopter.
He needed to get to work
Yeah, well,
in the afterlife.
maybe a hang glider.
Run errands in the afterlife.
Well, if you know what you'd want in your afterlife, if you want to know what you want your descendants to burn for you in the afterlife, write into us, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yes, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIA Atheist, and click that like button.
And while you're on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge. Request to join. It is a closed group.
Yeah, so nobody will know. Like, you can type that you're an atheist, and nobody will ever know if you don't want them to, except the rest of us in the group.
Right. But we will let you know.
We will.
Yeah. Okay, Dan.
Yeah. We got
Audio.
we got some stuff. We got
Play a clip.
This is good. It's a doubleheader today. It's Lance Wallnow, who we've heard on the show a few times, and Rick Joyner.
Oh, back together again?
Oh, I think they need to go on a wacky road trip.
They should.
It just seems right. Yeah. They have discovered something very important.
Okay, let's hear it. I'm really curious.
Yeah,
because I'm sure it's gonna be good.
It's hot and topical. It's a hot topic.
So Rick was sharing me something about a word from Bob Jones on Irma. You guys, this is just incredible. So would you share that?
Yeah, a few years ago, Bob had a visitation from a couple of angels. One of them was named Charles, and one of them was named Irma. And I've got to go back and research the details, but he said in this visitation, the angel named Irma said she was coming to release women into their purpose, into a higher purpose and a higher authority. And there's a lot of details to this, which we'll be posting later. But this angel came with another angel named Charles, and I was watching the Weather Channel yesterday, and it just got my attention when they said Hurricane Irma is following the same path as Hurricane Charles.
Wow.
Which I didn't even remember Hurricane Charles, but anyway, we've got to research that. We'll be posting some more on it, but I think there's a whole lot to this. There's a message in these storms.
So the idea is that the angel spoke to me years ago that there was going to be a release of women to power when that Irma had come through. Is that
Right.
true?
So this could be a sign of something, you know.
Sure could be.
There is a message in these storms.
First of all, probably the least believable thing in that whole thing for me
Yeah.
is that there's an angel named Irma. I don't know why, but like angels, I feel like you need a better name than Irma for your angels.
You know, there's a lot of them, Dan, and they all have to have a unique name,
Do they?
just like these storms. You know,
Yeah.
like once a big one's happened, they retire the name.
I'll tell you this. Once, I mean, sure, there's an angel named Irma.
Uh-huh.
There's no archangel named Irma. You're never going to get to archangel. You're never going to get that promotion with a name like Irma. You got to have a grander
really
name.
good.
She's
Really good, Dan.
she's not that good because as it turns out, the hurricane, it was Hurricane Charlie, not Hurricane Charles, just to point that out.
Well, I mean, come on. He goes by Charlie.
He goes by Charlie.
He goes.
They also had
Come on.
completely different paths. So Joyner was up in the night a little bit on that.
That's not true.
They were both sort of, they did both hit Florida.
Good enough.
So I mean, that nails it right there.
Yeah.
Nails it.
It's Florida. Right?
So
You hit-
so watch out, women.
That's
Apparently,
not that big.
Apparently, women are going to be released into what? Into their
Into
own
power.
Into power. Released into power.
Yeah.
Apparently, they've been caged away from power, which they kind of
no.
have been.
This is a wonder. They're happy about this. They're excited about powerful women. This is great.
Yeah,
Feminism is
something tells me their vision of
coursing
powerful
through their
women
veins.
not the same as my vision of powerful women. I don't think they're thinking of Hillary Clinton or Elizabeth Warren when they're thinking of powerful women.
Well, what about the prophetess? What's her name?
Oh, I don't know her name.
I can never remember it. I always recognize it when I see it.
I feel like they're thinking of Paula Deen. I feel like whenever they think of powerful women, they're thinking of Paula Deen.
she's a really good cook.
She's an amazing cook.
She's a really
She's
good cook.
Sweet, sweet lady.
Just a little racist. That's all.
Just the right
And it was-
amount.
She.
Just the right amount of racist for
It's
everyone.
like, it's like a seasoning.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Too much
Oh, no.
pepper is bad.
Right.
It'll overpower everything.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No, just
that little bit of cayenne racism.
you
just sprinkle
toss it in there.
Yeah, just a little pinch.
a little toss
Just a
thing.
pinch.
Yeah. That's good.
By the way, those of you who are listening to us, I'm just going to point out on your podcasts, as you've done for years, are not getting to see the color combination that's happening on Frank right now. We are on YouTube. You can check us out. And I'm just going to point out that the lime green undershirt under the blue button down. Oh, he's matching.
Pulls out the color of the cuffs.
Yeah. And then you got the red socks happening. It is fancy time over here.
Well, you know,
It's fashion.
it's hard to compete with you, Dan. So
I'm very fashion-y.
yeah,
I'm married into fashion, so I have to keep it up.
I'm all on my own, Dan. So
You are.
so I'm out there.
I think it's good. I think we're doing well. Look, I've got fun socks on
Oh, you
too.
do fun socks. Now, have you started doing as the kids are doing and wearing the fun socks, but with shorts?
I've done that. I've done it a little
Boy,
bit.
that's a thing.
It's the thing. I'm too old to do that. Let's talk a little bit about Patreon.
Yeah.
The reason that we have video going on is that we have people who donate money to us.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Because they like what we do, I guess. I just suppose that's the reason.
Right.
There could be other reasons. They don't tell us the reasoning.
Some sinister reason.
But this was a promise that we made once we hit a certain level. We have further promises that we are hoping to get to once we hit a higher level of donation. So if you would like to become a donor to our show, you can go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on the support bit, the Patreon link, and then you can pledge some money to us. We deeply appreciate it.
yeah, it's very, very, very helpful. And this week, we of course have to acknowledge Angela, our top donor.
Our Lord and Savior, Angela. Oh, how we venerate ye. And you too can become a venerated person if you just go to thankgodimatheist.com.
Yeah.
Thanks.
God bless. Angela bless.
Angela bless you.
So Dan,
Yes, sir.
there is this thing that is a bubbling out there in a Mormonism.
Ooh.
They're calling
Mormon
themselves,
bubbles.
They're calling themselves the Remnant, or the Remnant Movement, right?
Yeah.
Which is funny because there was already an offshoot of Mormonism called the Remnant Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
So they're kind of getting on somebody else's thing here.
Let me tell you, we've talked about it a little bit before, but we should mention again the time that we went to Independence, Missouri. So Independence, Missouri was, for a brief moment, the headquarter area of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Right. The Mormons.
Or was it called that at that time? It could just have been the Church of Christ, because he called it that for a while. Joseph
had a
Smith.
few names at the beginning, but
So who knows what it was called? But this was Joseph Smith's church, and they headquartered themselves in Independence, Missouri, which, for those of you who are geographically minded, is just a little ways outside of Kansas City.
it's actually, yeah, and it's also the center of
Of a spiritual vortex that goes around the world.
universe.
Yes.
Right. It's the
Anyway,
well, if you push all the continents together,
it's
right in the middle.
it's the center of Pangea.
It is. Yeah. It's right there.
It's absolutely not that. But it is kind of in the middle of the United States, so that's good.
Centrally located. Yeah.
So at this place, it is now the headquarters of the
Community
of Christ, which used to be called the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which was one of the first and still the largest split-offs from
Arguably the first true Mormon movement, because the Brighamites are an offshoot.
It's hard to know who's the offshoot. They would
Just
have
because you're the biggest group doesn't mean that you didn't break off of what Joseph Smith's intentions were.
So Joseph
right?
Smith had said that his son was going to be the next prophet, and Joseph Smith's first wife, and the only wife that the Community of Christ acknowledges.
Acknowledged. They're coming around on the whole polygamy thing.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Who the fuck cares?
But not in like just accepting the history.
Right.
That it was this shameful moment.
Okay.
You know.
They broke off with Emma Smith, and her son, who was 12 at the time, I think, or something like that, But she was like, he's going to be your prophet. You don't have
Right.
to do it now. And then, so they're one thing. And then other offshoots broke off. And in that area of Missouri,
Yeah.
there's like a 5-mile radius that's got like 10 or 12
Just, yeah.
little one-off Mormon like congregations.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
town.
amazing.
Yeah.
Including that remnant one.
Well, the remnant's actually pretty large. It's like 200,000 or 300,000 people.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that splintered off of the reorganized
Community of
church.
Christ, yeah.
Because because those guys are kind of awesome, and they kept doing things like ordaining women to the priesthood and like being cool with gay people and all
Right.
of that sort of thing. And every time they did that, there was a group of them that was like, "No, we want to remain hateful," and they broke off and did their own thing.
Yeah. And so specifically the remnant left when they ordained women and announced they were going to be building the temple.
Right.
If I remember those things kind of coincided around the same time.
So they literally built a church right across the street,
Yeah.
or there was a church and they bought it. I don't know what happened.
I have no clue.
They're literally right across the street from the temple
Right.
of their.
Right.
Anyway.
And yeah, so there's but anyway,
So there's a long tradition and history in Mormonism and in most religions, as it turns out,
right.
of offshooting.
Yeah. Well, I think that like if you look at sort of the broader like Protestant movement, you don't even think about it at a certain point, right? Like Joe Blow, pastor, wants to be a pastor,
Right.
has maybe went to Bible college or whatever, and it's his time, and he goes and he starts up, you know, his little Baptisty whatever but he was a Baptist over here and blah blah blah. No,
Right.
nobody begrudges him that.
No.
It's just kind of oh he's going and starting a church, you know,
Right.
blah blah blah.
It's
And-
church entrepreneurism.
Yeah.
In the evangelical movement.
And granted, he sort of comes with the set of beliefs that are typical of Baptists and whatever
Right.
Baptist movement he's specifically a part of.
Right.
But like, if
But
he
he-
started preaching a little bit of this and a little bit of that and left out a little bit of that and this, nobody go crazy about that.
And at any time, like sometimes you'll hear about them like leaving this sect of Baptistism and going
Yeah.
to that one.
Sure. Right.
You know, we're Methodists now. Congratulations.
That would be pretty bold.
That would be bold.
But there's a lot of this that you know it just kind of you don't necessarily think about it,
And it's
with
not
them,
a centralized religion.
right? And so they're not responding to. It's not a schism that's taking place.
No,
here,
no, no.
Right. They're just going and
They
doing
are-
little seed churches.
They are
and this and that.
permanently skizzed.
Yeah.
All of these. They're
Yeah.
skizzed completely.
The schism happened forever ago. But nonetheless, so in Mormonism, there is, especially in the brand of Mormonism that surrounds us, it's a very centralized, very church that has a lot of control
Yeah.
on the individual congregations. The centralized church owns all the facilities, all the money that's collected at the local level funnels up to
Yeah.
immediately, like it gets deposited into a bank account and goes straight to the downtown church.
Right.
And then they divvy out the money.
They do it
later.
all. It is. They are in control.
Yeah. And so interesting that now there's this little movement. A few years ago, a dude by the name of Denver Snuffer,
Great name.
uh,
Great fucking name.
he'd been writing some books about, you know, having your own personal relationship with God and everything.
Sure.
And then he came out with one and started claiming that he had seen God. Right. He got his own little meeting with Jesus.
Yeah.
And he wrote a how-to book of how to have a similar experience. And the Mormon Church asked him to back off.
Yeah. Please don't make us look any crazier than we already look.
Right.
Please.
Well, and because they're so centrally controlled, only the real higher ups get to have their moment with Jesus.
Well, okay. So, Mormon theology says anybody can have personal revelation.
Sure.
So it's possible.
Right. About yourself and about the people over whom you have stewardship.
Right.
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 And this whole like meeting up with Jesus, there's sort of this there is this idea in Mormonism of having your calling and election made sure. You've heard that phrase before. No, maybe not.
I don't know.
There's a moment when you as like a super Mormon can have your Jesus moment.
Oh.
Right? And Jesus appears to you and he says, you know, hey, you're in.
Yeah.
You know, like
Nice.
don't worry about it.
I got you, boo.
Yeah, you're coming to the best place when you die. Don't worry about it. And it's not a commonly taught belief, but go ask a Mormon who's really into it about calling and elections being made sure, and they'll know about this. Especially like return missionaries, they'll have talked about it. They'll know about it. But nonetheless, he basically was preaching, hey, you can do that.
Yeah.
You can go have your Jesus moment, right? And that really upset some people. Well, anyway, so there's this offshoot group, and they are they estimate between 5,000 to 10,000 in numbers.
So small, but like big for a small group.
Big for a small group. And,
Does that make any sense? Does that mean anything?
Well, and apparently there have been a number of congregations, number of wards around the Salt Lake area that have actually had a couple families leave for it. Like, and they're really, so there are congregations that are starting to feel a little bit of, hey, this is happening, right?
Yeah. And we should note that Snuffer was a convert to the LDS Church in the 70s.
Yeah, he was a member for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a convert.
But his goal is not to get people away from Joseph Smith's teachings.
No.
His goal is to get them back to it.
Yeah.
Because the current church has
strayed.
They're just cruising right now.
Yeah.
They're not really working for it.
Well, and because one of the things that Joseph Smith really talked about was the idea of continued revelation and of this of having, because this
of course Joseph Smith talked about it. He had to keep revealing, he had to keep having revelations to answer questions people had.
Right. But in the spirit of Joseph Smith and in the spirit of continued revelation, that's what Snuffer is promoting in this movement.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a decentralized movement. They're basically being the exact opposite of the downtown church.
Yeah.
If they can do something differently than the mainstream Mormons, they will do it differently. So
well, and part of that is that they're democratic in how they vote for what they believe
everything.
in and stuff.
Yeah, because
they believe that everybody gets to have personal revelation, and then the most personal revelations in this direction wins. Like who if 80 of us have personal revelation that we're supposed to believe this, and 200 have personal revelation in the other way, the 200 wins.
It makes you wonder why God told those people something different.
Yeah. They ate the wrong Cheerios that morning. Who knows?
Who can say?
That's
Who can say?
Tricky.
Nonetheless, it's an interesting thing. They just canonized their scriptures.
Oh. So which include Joseph Smith's scriptures, the Book of Mormon.
With the Book of Mormon, apparently they've gone back to an earlier edition.
Okay, because
what my understanding is,
it's been changed a lot.
Yeah.
Over the years.
And they are definitely, I can't remember if they did much editing on the Book of Mormon itself, but what they did do some serious editing on is the Doctrine and Covenants.
Oh, that's a Mormon scripture that was written. So the Book of Mormon purports to be not written by Joseph Smith, but translated by Joseph Smith, written by ancient American peoples.
Yeah.
Mesoamerican or whatever.
But they've edited the Doctrine and Covenants.
So the Doctrine and Covenants is written by Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
And it's his personal revelations.
His personal revelations that have largely to do with the organization of the church, some new guidelines for
why I get to fuck other women.
And yes, and of course polygamy is spelled out in the Doctrine and Covenants.
So they've edited that.
They've edited it, and I don't have it right in front of me, but they've given it a new name. It's called like the Teachings and Commandments or something like that.
Right.
And
it's the same thing, only different words.
Right. But so a lot of it has been written by Snuggle himself.
Snuggle.
Snuffer.
Oh, I love Snuggle. Oh.
Snuffer. Denver Snuffer.
Which Denver Snuffer, how is that either not like the name of a serial murderer?
The Denver Snuffer.
In Colorado. Or a Muppet. It could be a Muppet. Denver Snuffer seems like you don't know which direction that one's going to go, to be perfectly honest with you.
That's amazing.
Here's what I wanted to get at with this whole discussion.
Yeah.
Is that I think what we've hit on with this is that there are two parts of the human psyche at play in this thing.
Okay.
I mean, you could boil it down. I don't want to use the words like progressive and conservative.
Right.
But it almost does. I mean, I think it's the same impulse, which is there's the impulse to, I need the rules to stay the same.
Right.
And I need consistency, and I need that. So people who stay in a church, there's a lot of people who just want that.
Right.
But then there's this other side of people who want to be part of a movement, part of something that's happening, part of something that is
has energy and
that has
life, and it's evolving.
Right. And it's exciting, and it's a little scary because it feels less sure, but it feels...
But you're a part of history.
And you're moving forward.
And even better, you're part of God's history. You're part of His plan. You're a key player.
You're not part of history. You're part of the future. They're the history.
Yeah.
You're the future.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got Joseph Smith's crew going in the first place. You know, that excitement.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's not just a Mormon phenomenon. We've read about Jehovah's Witnesses that have broken off.
Sure.
We've heard. Judaism has some fascinating offshoots. Right. Like I just looked up a thing that's like off. So the whole Hasidic thing was an offshoot, and then there's offshoots of that. Right. There's offshoots of offshoots of offshoots, and and of course, obviously, Protestantism
is just one giant big
just shooting off
a melange,
right,
of offshoots
of offshoots
off
of the Catholic Church, and probably Christianity as a whole.
It's an offshoot of Judaism.
And maybe, with some other sort of mystical things from that area thrown in.
You just pick, you pull. Yeah. You get the things that work for you. And that's what this is. This is people making, they're trying to understand the universe that they live in. Right. And rather than looking at something a little bit more reliable, like, we've chosen to do.
Like the universe. Like whatever you can see, whatever you can perceive and measure.
Right. And test and
all
hypothesize and blah, 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 right? But this is how they're trying to make sense of their lives, and this is how they're trying to do it. And they are adapting some other belief system to suit their current needs.
Sure. And you get
for better or for worse, right?
And I think what happens is you've got a congregation of people, some of whom are very settled and happy, some of whom are itchy. And that itch is always going to be there. Right. And then you get one charismatic person who's able to scratch that itch just the right way. Well, and suddenly, a flame is lit.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how many people
I'm mixing metaphors left and right here.
Yes, but how many people are feeling that same way? Right. Right. How many people are going to respond to that same message? Right. And the message,
and so like Joseph Smith's original message as translated through Brigham Young and then into all of the people that have gotten the Mormon church, the downtown Salt Lake church to where it is now. Right. That has gone stale. It is. It's stagnant completely.
Very stale. Yeah.
Which is great for a lot of their members. Right. But there's going to be that group of people that need that little bit more. Yeah. Oh, I just want to be part of something big. It's supposed. These are the latter days. We're gonna, we need Jesus, and we need, you don't. Now they don't want to rock the boat because if somebody says something crazy like Jesus came and talked to me, it feels like, like if the prophet says, Jesus was in my room and here's what he said, it better be good. Yeah. And if it's cuckoo, then we're in trouble. Right. So that even when, I heard stories about the recent Mormon, Thomas Monson. Well, Mormonism came out with that horrific policy about demonizing, about like sort of ostracizing the children of gay people in the church. Yeah. That people like dyed-in-the-wool Mormons hate that policy. But the word on the street, the underground word, is that what happened was the prophet said, God told me this. And nobody else could argue with it. But did they publicize that? Hell no, they didn't publicize that, because anytime you say that, you risk just
Being a lunatic.
being a crazy person.
Well, and
So you start with a lunatic.
yeah.
You might get a second lunatic after the first lunatic. You know, it's the L. Ron Hubbard, and then you get the David Miscavige, who's a genuine lunatic, like
Right.
a crazed asshole.
Right.
But after that, it has to just sort of even its shit out.
Right.
Or like everybody, because now they've got something to lose. You know, they start to gain enough followers and they've got something to lose. But Snuffer doesn't have anything to lose.
Not at this point. Well, also, he really pushes back on being called a prophet.
Oh, that's
He's not
true.
the leader of the movement.
He's clever.
Even though he's a respected member of the movement, clearly. And there's a lot of people who really listen to what his perspective on issues are,
Right.
apparently.
And he is the leader of the movement.
He is. He's the de facto leader. He's not.
yeah.
He has not set himself up as Joseph Smith did, or definitely not like Brigham Young did,
Right.
of being, you know, this control freak. You know, this is my thing. I'm running it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna fuck whoever I want.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's ultimately why you lead a cult.
Sure.
You know.
Eventually,
you want to fuck people.
It gets around to fucking
yeah.
at some point. It always does.
So that's actually in a strange way. Well, I have a little bit of hope for these folk. I want to see this thing flourish.
Well-
because it will hurt the downtown church, and I would love to see that happen on some level. And I'd like to see like Utah disrupted a little.
Yeah.
Something new bubbling around.
Okay.
You know.
Sure.
Like I'm rooting for them. I'm
Great.
pulling hard.
Good.
Like I don't know. Maybe I'll contribute to their GoFundMe. Help them build their temple.
Join up.
Yeah.
Join
I'm not
up.
gonna join. Fuck
Join
that
them.
shit. I'm not going to any of their weirdo meetings.
Yeah, that'd be a little nuts. Well, I kind of want to hear from people. Like, if any of our listeners, you out there in the world, are familiar with an offshoot of your particular faith that you grew up with. Maybe you grew up in an offshoot.
Quite possible. We've heard from people who grew up in cults.
Yeah, sure. So let us know. Write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
That's right. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click that like button.
And while on Facebook, you can search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we let you in, and then you're inside this great online community of like-minded people. It's private.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Some of those people include Mackenzie, who does our Facebook page. Thank you so much to you, Mackenzie. You're amazing. Hi. Waving at you on the video. And thanks to Sarah, Danny, and Amy for their hard work as moderators in the Members Only Lounge.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston and the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
Yes, indeed. And thank you, dear listener, and dear viewer, for tuning in to us. We sure do appreciate it when you do.
Bye-bye.